Have you ever stopped to think about the fans behind a band? What is it about the music that keeps fans coming back for more? Or is there more? My name is Renae Lipsmeyer, and I am the host of this podcast, The Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of the Dave Matthews Band. Each week, a fellow DMB fan joins the show to discuss their journey with the band. Welcome to the Space Between Podcast. Hey guys, welcome to another episode of the Space Between Podcast, the podcast where we talk about the fans of a band who has been making music for over 30 years. If this is your very first time to listen or watch this podcast, well, we talk about one band and one band only, really. If you do not know about the Dave Matthews Band, well, get ready, buckle up, because you're about to hear a lot about this band that is getting inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame October 19th of this year. It is such an exciting time to be a fan of the Dave Matthews Band. I always joke that I feel like a proud mama of like a Super Bowl champion. Like that's the only thing I can compare it to, is it's just such a proud moment. And, you know, I know that like silly stuff, but like I know that I'm going to cry at this, you know, when it happens, just because it does mean so much to not only the band, it means so much to the fans who have been supporting them and loving them and traveling to see them and obsessing with them about them a lot. And to see them just get public recognition, although that's never been something that I thought that they sought for, or that we thought that they needed any public recognition. They don't need anything in my eyes, but this is such an honor. So I'm so excited for them. But we are going to talk about the Dave Matthews Band today. So every show I have a fan of the Dave Matthews Band come on the show to share their journey with this band. With over 30 years of music, this band has picked up thousands of fans all across the world. Some people that have found the band as soon as they started in 1991, fans that have found them in the late 90s, early 2000s. I mean, across 30 years, we've had fans on this show that have just known about the Dave Matthews Band for a few years. So it's not too late to love the Dave Matthews Band. They're still a thing. They're still traveling. If you listen to this and you think, God, that was that 90s band. No, yeah, I mean, yes, they were in the 90s, but they are also still a current band that is traveling and selling out shows all of the time. And so it's time to get back on board with the Dave Matthews Band. There's never been a better time to love this band. So I invite you to listen. So today is like every episode, I have a guest, of course, that is a fan of the Dave Matthews Band. So first of all, thank you so much for being willing to share your journey with this band. Tell everyone who you are and where do you live.
Well, thank you for having me, Renee. I very much appreciate it.
Absolutely.
I am Tuffy Gee, and I live at the Jersey Shore. I'm a beach girl, so about 10 minutes from the beach, and just love that.
Jersey Shore. So, okay. You know what? I mean, I live in Arkansas, and when I hear Jersey Shore, I think of one thing. What do you think it is? Jersey Shore, the show. So, like in my little life, that's kind of what I've known Jersey Shore to, like, in my imagination, that's what I think of. Is that kind of really like what it is? No,
No,
no, no,
the
no.
seaside, which is where it was filmed, is a little bit on that kind of side, but I live by Long Beach Island, which is just like a beautiful 18-mile long barrier island where
Oh
it's
yeah.
family oriented, like not crazy. Of course, there's bars and partying and
Oh yeah,
stuff.
yeah, yeah, yeah. I'm
Not,
good with that. I
but
love it all. Now, is Jones Beach close to you?
Jones Beach is a good 3.5 hours from me.
Okay. So not that close. What is your home venue?
It's either Camden or Homedale because I'm an hour in either direction from both.
Okay. That's awesome. I mean, I think as in general, just to be a fan on the East Coast, I've always considered you guys so fortunate because the East Coast gets a lot of shows. And, you know, there are a lot of different reasons, and I get those reasons, but you guys are so lucky. I feel like, you know, even the state of California is not lucky enough to get as big as that state is and as, populated as that state is. They are not even guaranteed a show every year. So East Coast, y'all are getting it. They love you guys. They love you guys.
We love them too, so thank you.
They love y'all. And I mean, there are a lot of Dave Matthews Band fans on the East Coast. And I think probably a lot of that relates back to just the bands where it started, Virginia, on the East Coast. So I think, they had to build up their fanship starting there. And those people stayed there. And so, when was the very first time that you heard of the Dave Matthews Band?
Um, it was about 1995, and I had been a Deadhead, so I had been like
Yeah.
and following the Grateful Dead all over the place. And then Jerry Garcia died in '95, and I was heartbroken, and I didn't have any more bands to follow. And
Yeah.
I should check out the Dave Matthews Band, and I was like, "Well, can you dance to them?" And he was like, "You can dance to the Grateful Dead. You can dance to anything, honey."
True.
I was
True.
right, okay. So I gave him a listen. He took me to my first show, which I cannot for the life of me remember where it was because
No, it was a long time ago though.
I was going to MSG quite a few times back then, but I can't remember where he took me. And I've been Giant Stadium. They played Giant Stadium back in those days. That whole
Yeah.
stadium was packed, huge. So huge shows back then. So, but that was my introduction. So
So your friend said, "Why don't we start listening?" Or started you kind of put that bug in your ear. So, like, how do you get a hold of music in 1995? Because again, we have to remember technology is so different now than it was in 1995. So, like, did she have a tape on hand? I can't remember when CDs came out. It's all blurry.
he actually had a friend who was a taper,
Okay.
and
Oh,
had a
awesome.
whole collection of live tapes. And so
Wow.
I
Yeah.
his house one day and we were just, hanging out, and he was like, "Let me play you some stuff." And I was like, "Wow, all right, this is pretty cool." And then I think I remember seeing them on TV. I think it was What Would You Say came out on TV for like
Hmm.
MTV. It might have been something else. And I remember my husband walking in the room going, "Oh, that band's gonna be big."
What? He knew it. He knew
Yeah,
it.
ear for music.
What was it about the sound? So, like, when you were listening to those live shows on those tapes, and I love to talk about tape trading days. And if you're listening to this and you're like, "What the hell are they talking about?" Google that. The history of the fans of the Dave Matthews Band and how they started trading tapes of live shows. It really is such a fascinating story. But like when he pulled out those tapes and turned on that live show, what was it that caught your ears? Was it Dave's voice? Was it the music? Was it a combination? Or was it that you had just never heard anything like it?
It was really the lyrics, I think, at the time. Lyrics have always been like the thing that kind of just draws me in. As I'm getting older, it's kind of the opposite now. It's more about the groove that kind of.
Yeah.
But back then, it was all about the lyrics. So it was like what Dave was singing about, and his voice, and they just had such an odd sound. Like it was just like nothing you had ever heard before.
Yeah.
So what is it? Is it country? Is it rock? Is it what's going
Right.
on here? So
Right.
it was just that eclectic sound that really just kind of grabbed me.
Yeah. Yeah. No, I get that. And so what what led you up to going, okay, I want to go see them live? Like, did somebody were they going and they invited you? Like, walk us through what that looks like.
Same friend who introduced me to the tape said, "I'm going to take you to your first show because I'm a snob and I'm always like, yeah, I don't really like studio recordings of anything, and I just like live stuff. So I
Yeah.
have a lot of live CDs, I have a lot of live tapes, and I was like, I can't really judge a band till I see them live, and
Hmm.
I remember going and being just blown away. I was like, it really is kind of like it reminded me a lot of the Grateful Dead, like the same kind
Yeah.
of environment, the same everybody's dancing and ecstatic and happy, and the music's just, and I was like, it reminded me so much of that. It was very healing because I was so upset after Jerry Garcia died that I really needed something to kind of, I hate to say replace that, but just something to fill that void for me.
Yeah, no, I get that. And it's honestly a common story. I've talked to so many people that were big into the Grateful Dead, and the Dave Matthews Band was such an easy transition for them because of the exaggerated jam sessions, just the style of the band in general, and the way that like their performance is like. But then the fans. I always compare the fans of the Dave Matthews Band to the fans of the Grateful Dead. And not in every way are they the same, but in almost, and I hate using these words, but because of the cult following, right? Like, as people say, once they see the inside of the Dave Matthews Band, like the word cult is thrown around like it's nothing. And I laugh at it so much because in no definition of cult, it's so silly. But people say that because there's such a tight knitness of the fans, and they are die hard. They will go to every show, anywhere, anytime. If you got $2 in the bank, you are going to hitchhike and find a free ticket. Like, you are going to get there. And the Deadheads were that way as well. And so I think it is, like I said, it's a common story to see that transition, and how nice that was to not have a void in your heart for music, because that's a real thing. A real thing, how much I think for the most part, people have a large space in their heart and a need in their heart and their mind and their soul to for the music therapy, what music can bring us. It can change our hearts, change our minds, put us in a new place, make us remember things that we hadn't remembered in a while. Music's such a powerful deal. So I'm glad that you didn't have to go too long without finding your next big deal, because sometimes that can be really hard to find the band, right? The band you're going to follow.
Absolutely. All my friends were into Fish, and I was just like, yeah, they're okay, but not really what I'm looking for.
Yeah, yeah,
Thank goodness
yeah.
that came along, because it was a rough couple of years at that time, so I needed it.
Yeah. So how long was it after your first show did you go, okay, well, I need to go back to see another one?
Pretty much like at that same night, I was like, where are we go next? So this friend now had me as his, like, his D&B buddy. And I mean, it was we had the kind of relationship where it was like, one night he goes, we should drive down to South Carolina tonight and see if we can get tickets for tomorrow's show. I was
Seems
like, all right.
rational.
So we had like two cars full of people. We had like three girls in my car and three guys in his car, and I followed him down to South Carolina, and none of us had tickets. And we get down there and we all find tickets. It's like a half an hour before the show starts. Somehow all six of us find tickets. The
Oh
three
my
of us
God.
are on one side of the arena, three of us are on the other side of the arena. So it was like girls on one side, boys on the other. And we got a hotel room with one bed and six people because
Oh
that's
my
all
God.
and that's just how we became. I was crazed after that. I was like, let's do this. Like, yeah, I'll sleep on the floor in a hotel in
Absolutely.
South
I bet
Carolina.
you'll look back at that night for the rest of your life and think like that was such a fun night. I'm so glad I did that.
Yeah,
Yeah.
it
Yeah,
was
because
fun.
I'm sure it was tough in the moment. Like, nobody wants to sleep on a floor. However, when invited to a Dave Matthews Band concert and you ain't got the funds to get your own hotel room, yes, sign me up for the floor. I will do it.
Our 20s, and we were struggling. We were college students. We were starving. We were gonna make it happen. So we did.
And you did. And you did. And so you got the bug. I mean, you had it. So, I mean, did you just keep going, or was there ever a time in your life where it stopped for a little bit?
I took a break. I moved out to. I graduated from school, and I was going to continue out in Oregon, where my now husband, my boyfriend at the time, was living. And I moved out there and got pregnant
Yeah.
about a year or so after living there. And so I took a break from. Probably, I did actually go see Dave when I was 6 months pregnant. So I did
Uh-huh.
go. That was my last time for a while. Um, I was about 6 months pregnant. It was in Portland, Oregon, and I just remember them doing a great Jimmy thing and me dancing, and my husband was like, "You're gonna dance that baby out. You need to come on."
Oh,
I'm like, "I'm fine."
the
But
baby likes it.
my son always loves it. He's like, "I saw my first show in the womb."
Yeah,
Um,
you did.
but I stopped for like probably a good 6 years. I didn't go because
Mhm.
I was at home. I was in school again. I went to nursing school. I was working. I was a mom of a little one, and it just didn't work.
Girl,
So
I know that story oh so well. It's hard to do it all, right? It's way easier to travel when you don't have
Responsibilities.
Littles. Yeah, I mean responsibilities in general, but like children, especially small children, make it a little more challenging. It's just so you moved on, you became a mama. Congratulations. So how many children do you have now?
One and done. I have a
One
20
and done.
son. He's amazing, and I always say I got it right the first time. I didn't have to do it again.
That's right.
And he's my D&B buddy.
So he loves the Dave Matthews Band. So I mean, obviously he grew up on Dave. I'm sure of that. Did he always love it, or have there been times that he kind of fought you on it?
No, never. No, my son is a
Never.
musician. No, he's a musician. He's always been around music. My husband's an amateur musician. There's always music on in my house. There was no way that this kid was not going to like Dave.
Yeah.
I think I took him to his first show. I want to say he was 8. Let me
Wow.
remember.
Yeah.
So he was 8 for his first show. That was Hershey Stadium. So that
Oh
was one
my
of the
gosh.
shows. Yeah.
Wow. Lucky dude.
That right. So I've just been taking him ever since then, and now he's my traveling buddy. I'm like, hey, I'm like, I was like, this year, where do you want to go? That's new. That you want to go here, you want to go here. He's like, oh, let's go here. And now we just pick a place and we buy tickets and we go and we make a vacation out of it together, and so I get to spend some time with my son.
Yes, that's amazing. There's nothing better than taking those. I mean, I have a son that's the same age, and it's just, mama's boys. I just love them, and not in a weird way. I don't mean that in a weird way, but there's just a special connection, and I love traveling with my kiddos. So tell me, obviously your husband is a fan. Does he like to travel as much as you do, though?
Husband I wouldn't say he's not a fan. He's not like me about
Right,
it.
right, right, right.
He appreciates Dave. He calls Dave. He thinks that Dave's an amazing guitar player because that's my husband
Hmm.
plays guitar. He calls Dave the Claw because he says the way he makes
Gosh, I know.
things. He's like his hands are just the placement and everything. So he calls him the Claw. He's like, I don't know how he does that. And then as he tries to learn Dave songs, and he's like, this is hard. So
Yeah.
as a musician, but I've dragged him to enough Dave shows that he's okay if he doesn't go again.
Yeah, yeah. No, I get it. My husband is on that same train. Like he's picking up some steam. He's actually kind of liking it, but here's why. Yeah, everyone can love the music. I mean, obviously that's what all of us were drawn to first was the music. That's been the whole thing. But then you find that you end up knowing people from time to time at shows, and you kind of notice that you start seeing the same
Same
people,
faces.
and you're like, wait a second, what's happening? And then you get on the internet and you find all these groups and you find out about this community of fans that is like nothing I've ever seen before, because I've never been part of another band in this way. But like, when was the first time you noticed that something was different about this fan base, as far as like going deep into becoming family?
I kind of was a late bloomer with that. It was really more around like 2017 or so
Hmm.
where I started seeing like I just said I'm like gonna Google search like Dave Matthews fan groups on Facebook and just see what comes up.
Yeah.
And that's what I did, and I came across my first group, the So Damn Lucky crew,
Uh-huh.
Jamie Henry's group.
Jamie Henry, shout out. She's
That
amazing.
group, that was the first one I joined, and made friends with her and made friends with Preet, and then
Yes.
let's see what else is that. And so I just joined everything as soon as I
Yeah.
found Jamie
Yes.
out there. I was
It's
like,
an endless hole of
yeah, I was like,
groups.
so I did that, and then I remember being at Camden 2018 on the pit line and seeing my friend Melissa walk by, and I was like, I know you from Facebook. You're Melissa Webjack. And she was like, you're Tiffany. And I was like,
Melissa, I know Melissa. She had the number 41 podcast.
yeah. So and
Yes,
then
I love her.
the first person I recognized in real life, in like at a show from Facebook, I was like, I know your face.
I
Um,
love her.
became fast friends, and and I have so many great friends now because of this band.
Yeah.
I've had otherwise, and thank goodness for things like Facebook, because there were a couple of years where I couldn't find anybody to go to a show with me, and I was like dragging my husband like, you're going with me because and so
Right.
mean, now I have people who really want to go. So,
Exactly. You always know somebody that wants to go because the more you travel and the more you really you don't even have to travel. I always like to stop and say that because obviously there are people that listen to this podcast that think, "Oh my God, everybody that's on this show travels to a million places and does that." That is not true. That is not true. Most people that have been on this show have been to at least one show. And so that's what I mean by traveling to see a show. By no means am I talking about you have to go to Europe to be a fan. It's not that at all. So just I always like to make that clarification. But I think getting into this community, I was kind of like you. I was late into the game, and I think a lot of people really kind of got deeper into the community side of it when COVID happened because we were forced inside. A lot of us went online to communicate with even our loved ones that we didn't get to see. And so we just spent a lot more time digging into getting to know people virtually. And the birth of all of these groups, or a lot of these groups, happened then. And it's just expanded so much into even TikTok. There's a whole following of Dave Matthews Band fan stuff on TikTok. And so it's just everywhere now. And that really has it's just blown my mind, the generosity of the fans, the genuine uh just want to keep the spirit of this band alive, and continue to make sure that people know about them because they're worth knowing about.
absolutely.
And they're almost like, in a way, for a lack of a better word, like soldiers for the band, like we are marching on as our little ant selves, going to tell everybody about this music because it's touched all of us in so many different ways. And if you haven't listened to this podcast before, I mean, there are literally stories of how this anything from like this band has been so much fun, it's got me in a lot of trouble, and all those kind of fun stories. But then there's been stories about this band helped me. I listened to them through my cancer treatments and I found some peace inside of those lyrics. And there's just been so many different stories of how this music has been used to help save lives. And I don't yes, to help save lives, to help restore people's souls and their spirits when they've been very broken before. Have you found that this music and this community has helped you in any of those ways?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
Absolutely. Like I mentioned before, when Jerry Garcia died in '95, I had lost my mom the year before that. So that whole
Mhm.
year was just a
Yeah.
terrible, dark, awful time for me.
Awful. I'm so sorry.
Thank you. So uh, having that, like when being introduced to Dave Matthews Band, not filling the void for the band that I loved and traveled with, and also just to kind of like heal. I had a broken heart. I mean, I already had a broken heart before Jerry Garcia died, and it just I always call Dave
Yeah.
Matthews Band my church. Like I go to church there. I get
Mm-hmm.
healed. I feel
Mm-hmm.
filled up afterwards.
Yes.
Soul is replenished, and
Mm-hmm.
it really just it helped me out. And my anthem song for years was 41. And I actually have I'll go in this way and find my own way out tattooed on my leg. So it's
Yeah.
my mantra. So
I love that.
yeah, and it came from that. It came from that time.
I love that. Well, it seems like all of a sudden we have a couple guests in the room, and the reason why I say this the way I'm saying this is because if you're listening to this on a podcast app, you should definitely check out the YouTube side of this because I think it's this can be a visual story. From time to time, we'll pop up pictures of people's experiences as they're talking about it. But right now, as I'm talking to Tuffy, we have two guests in the room. Number one, we have a kitty cat. Tell us about the cat. And then number two, we're going to talk about a lot more. So, number one, what's your cat's name over there?
Well, I have two. I'm
Oh,
not
you
sure
have
which
two. Oh, let's see. To
black
your
ones.
left.
Which one's behind me?
That's black
Lucky,
one.
Lucky. They're both black. So two black boys.
Oh, I gotcha. Well, Lucky, it looks like he is cuddling next to a man in your room, and I don't think that's your husband. Who is that behind you?
My wannabe husband. That is the man I would wish I could marry.
So if you're just listening to this on a podcast app, you're like, what are they talking about? Well, you have a cardboard cutout, and these things are so easy to find at God, any tailgate, any kind of day party. People have just got these in their homes all the time. And so you keep yours up all of the time. And I mean, have fun, but what a reminder too of just like, ew, I'm so excited I have this in my life. But I'm glad Dave decided to show up for the podcast. Thank you, Dave.
Yeah, it was hard to get him here, but there he is.
Well,
So
I mean, Dave, I appreciate your hard work of just standing there so firmly. And honestly, you haven't blinked one time, and I don't know how you're doing it.
stoic. He's very stoic.
Stoic.
I'm
It's amazing. It's amazing.
My son got him for me for a Christmas gift a couple of years back, and he was like, "What do you want for Christmas, Mom?" I was like, "I have always wanted one of those flat dates." He was like, "All right." And lo and behold, on Christmas morning, I was like, "What is this? A regularly shaped package? What could this be?" And there he was. So I don't know.
So,
In the corner of the room, and I put hats and scarves and to dress him up for holidays and
well, of
stuff.
course, that was the gift that kept on giving, right?
I will never
All
forget.
year long. That's so
Coming
funny.
up soon, so.
That's so funny. The first time I ever saw one of those, I was at Deer Creek and someone had it in their tailgating section. And of course, they had like the lays around him, the little Hawaiian necklaces. And I mean, just dressing him up for whatever occasion. He could be your date. Like you could take him to a Christmas party. Like what else? Like,
You know, in Mexico. I mean, I've seen it.
oh my God, that's so funny. I love it. I don't have one. I don't have one. I mean, maybe that's what I should tell Santa I want this year. I don't know. Actually, would it be more fun to have the whole band? You could just stick them up on the back wall here and be like, I'm just gonna sit in front of them and play some music and be like, it's a live concert just
Funny. This is what we do when the band takes a break. We just turn on something live and pretend.
At that point, I'm pretty sure I would be on a documentary, but it would be about psychos. If I have
The natural habitat.
nonsense. I'm not psycho. I'm passionate, and there's a difference. So, of all the places that you've been to see the Dave Matthews Band, like, what has been your favorite so far? Like, does any stick out? As like, okay, first of all, wait a second. Let's back up. Favorite venue?
Gorge.
Where? Oh, the Gorge. Okay, tell us about it.
The Gorge or Mexico. It's a
I
toss-up.
know it's tough. So if
It's just David Tim, so it's a toss-up.
someone's listening to this right now and they're like, I don't know what the Gorge is, explain what it is and where
Gorge
it is.
is in the middle of nowhere, Washington State, about 2.5 hours from Seattle. It is in a high desert, so it is dry, it is dusty, it is hot, and there is the Columbia River that carved a gorge out of these giant mountains, and it is the stage is set up so that you can see all of that behind it, and I got chills talking about it. It's absolutely gorgeous. So that's the first time I saw it. I just broke out into tears, and I think that's a common reaction for a lot of people who have or go for their first time to see the gorge. So I had somebody go, make sure you get somebody to videotape you cresting the hill, and I was like, why? And they were like, just trust me, just trust me. So there's definitely a video somewhere of me just baby, ugly crying on tape for just looking at the gorge and ugly crying. So you were right.
It is beautiful, and it's nice because once you get out in the middle of nowhere, they're not going to just do one show for you because you have made the trek to the middle of nowhere, Washington, and it's on Labor Day weekend. I had to say that very slow so that everyone could hear what I'm saying. Labor Day weekend. You get 3 nights of music, so it's totally worth it. There's a lot of camping. I mean, if you've never heard of it, definitely look at. There's even a movie about the gorge because it's like a big deal that a lot of bands hit up the gorge. And just what the fans have to do to get out there and stay out there. Like it's a whole big deal. So I encourage you to, what is it called? It's called Enormous, right?
Yeah, yeah.
enormous. Yeah.
And they've got some interviews with different bands who've played there. Obviously, Dave's in the movie, and they kind of show you how the whole thing started and this little tiny platform stage to what it is today, and the bands that have played there, and just how it kind of came to be. And it's a really great movie. So I remember watching it home and just crying because I was like, I just love it there so much. My son
Yes.
was like, what are you watching? And I was like, I'm watching the movie about the gorge. And he's like, are you crying? I was like, uh-huh.
That's so funny. But you're passionate. You're passionate. And I love that. I love that. I love that. So let's see. You love the gorge. I mean, that a lot of people do. A lot of people do. Now let's see. What's your favorite place you've been where you just you like have you ever been at a show and like you knew you've always wanted to hear this song, but you weren't ready for it and it hit you and you just kind of had an emotional moment? Take us to that show.
Bartender at the Gorge. My first year I was there, which was 2019, if I'm remembering correctly. And it was Saturday night, and I was by myself on the lawn, and I just, I heard the song, but I mean, I felt it that day. Like I
Mhm.
literally fell on my knees on the ground. I'm gonna cry. Literally fell on my knees on the ground and just started to cry like I am now.
That's
Um,
okay. Yeah.
and at that moment, it became my song. Like 41 was
Yeah.
always my song, but then Bartender became my song at that point. So from now, right now, that's my song.
Is it okay if I ask what was it about that song that hit you?
It's it's to me, it's so spiritual, and there's something about Dave screaming, "God is not in you, God is above you."
Mhm.
God is not above you, God is in you. And I was
Mhm.
like, it's such a message. It just is such
Mhm.
a spiritual, advanced way of thinking, and I just loved it. I was just
Yeah.
like, yes, absolutely, God is in me. And if people who say that Dave is their church, like I've said, and then getting healing, that it was just one of those moments where I definitely felt like a little piece of that broken heart of mine was just like click back into place.
Oh man.
And
And music did that. What? Music made
healing
you feel better? Music healed a part of your heart?
better than 5 years of
What?
therapy, I'll tell you that.
This is the story, guys. This is the story. And again, if you're listening to this for the first time, this, I can't say it enough. This is the story. People's lives are being healed, people are being made happy by music in a time where happiness is running low for a lot of people. There's a lot of shit going on in this world. And every day you're like, what new could happen? What else could happen? And music is one thing for me. I can only speak for me, but I know that a lot of people feel this way just because I've talked to so many people. Music is an escape, but also music can make you, it can do a lot of things. It can be an escape when you need it to, but it can also bring you back to reality and make you want to live again and be like, oh my God, yes, exactly. This is what I needed to hear so that I wanted to get out of bed in the morning and do a good job and be a good human and be a good mom and be a good all that stuff. It has the power to speak to you when you need some words. When you just need some words, or you just need to relax your brain, or you just need to let go. Sometimes we all need to just let go, and
Shake it
music is
off.
there. Yeah, shake it off. Yes.
Dance around with 33, 4, 5,000 of your favorite other fans and friends, and just
Yes.
that community and that feeling that's going through all of us at the same time. And you look over and this person's smiling and dancing, and then the person next to you is smiling and dancing, and we're all singing together, and
Mhm.
it's just it's just what I need.
Yeah.
It's what we just all need. Um,
Yeah.
it's everything. It's healing. It's inspirational. It's a way to let loose, let go, have some fun. Find something in yourself or heal something in yourself. And it does so many things. And music is one thing that you can rely on in an
Mhm.
uncertain world. Like you said, there's so much stuff going on in the world today, and the one thing you can rely on is your favorite band.
That's right. That's right. And I think that, speaking of mental health, I love mental health. I'm a nurse as a profession. I can't talk enough about it just because, and I know you are too. I know you are too. So, hey, nurses and music are changing the world every single day. Yeah, yeah. But, my thing has been no matter what kind of nurse you are, no matter what, I guess, what community you serve, mental health is something that is talked about at every age and in every way, because it's so important and it's part of healing a whole person. We have our mind, our spirit, our soul, and music therapy, music in general are a piece of that puzzle that can help. It's medicine that can help. And so, I can't preach enough about how important this has been for so many people. And again, that's the point of documenting this story, is just to put down in time that, again, music is healing, but this subgroup of people inside of music have received all of this healing from one band, and they're just, when thousands of people say the same things that you are saying in different ways, but are saying, I was restored, my heart got sewed up a little bit, I was able to let go, I had a good time, I cut loose with my friends. When thousands of people are saying that about one thing, that's the story. That's the story that deserves to go down in history. And speaking of history, tell us about how excited you are that these guys are going down in history in the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame.
About damn time.
Oh, can I get a yes, 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 yes? I mean, honestly, it's such a great time. There's not a bad time, right? Like, I'm just so excited it's happening. Do you remember when you heard that they? Well, first, let's go back to, like, the fan voting. Did you do some? Did you do it?
Every day. The first time and the second time. I had a little alarm on my phone. I'd be like, "Oh, it's time to vote."
Yes, yes. And so it
5,000 people.
it happened. It happened this year. Do you remember the feeling when you found out that they were going to get inducted?
I was watching it on TV. Was it the Grammys or where? I forget
It
what
was
game.
like during a commercial break for
Yeah,
something,
yeah.
right?
It was like one of those shows. It was like some kind of show. It was the one where they sing.
American Idol? Was it
Yes,
American Idol? Yes, 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 yes.
yeah, it was American Idol, which I only watched because I knew they were announcing it. I wasn't watching it
Me
otherwise.
too. Me too.
And like jumping up off my sofa and dancing and screaming and yelling like, "They got it!" And I'm like, "They got it on Rock and Roll Hall of Fame!" Like, okay. And
Did you feel like a total mom at that moment?
I was crying. I was just I was a complete lunatic. My son was like, I called him downstairs. We're jumping up and down, and
Oh.
it was very celebratory.
It's
So
such a good feeling, and I'm so glad that this is going to be a thing that's I can't remember what channel it's going to be on. It'll be live on TV. So
Disney, I
is
heard
it Disney?
I think is where it's going to be aired live, and then I think you can
Okay.
live stream it on like Hulu and some other. I was reading about it today.
Okay.
Some other place. So keep those in mind for when it happens.
Yes.
You show it on like some other channels after, like months after.
Right. Yeah, I'm sure it'll be available like on somebody's YouTube channel like the day after, because they secretly recorded from the inside. It's happening. It's happening. But let's talk about how you just recently they put out, and I've got the list right here of who the guests were going to be at the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame. Let's talk about that for a second, because I am excited. We'll save. We'll save the Dave Matthews Band talk for a second, but let me just read off some of these people that have been confirmed presenters and performers. Busta Rhymes. What the hell? I am so excited about that. Oh my God. Chuck D, Dr. Dre, Demi Lovato, Dua Lipa. What's happening? James Taylor, Jelly Roll, Keith Urban, Kenny Chesney, Sammy Hagar / The Roots, on top of the people that are being inducted that are going to perform: Mary J. Blige, Cher, of course, the Dave Matthews Band, Foreigner, Peter Frampton, Kool and the Gang, Dionne Warwick. But for a minute, let's talk about the redhead in the room. And I'm not talking about you because you look kind of redheaded from this video. I am talking about
Julia.
Miss Julia Roberts. What woman in the Dave Matthews Band community doesn't want to be her right now?
Or when she filmed Dream Girl, because we wanted to be her
Or
next.
for the last 20 years or 30 years, whatever.
Yeah, absolutely. I think that I think that that's really cute that they would have her be their inductee or inducting them. I hope they played it. I hope they play a snippet of the video behind them or something while
Oh
she's.
yeah, or that they sing Dream Girl. What? That would I would have never predicted that ever.
I keep wondering what are they going to play?
Oh, I don't know.
Play when you get inducted into the Rock and Roll Hall of Fame if you're Dave Matthews Band.
I mean, do you play hits or do you go deep? I
I
don't know.
feel like you play a hit. I don't know
I
why.
know. I feel like you play hit. I'm not saying that's a negative thing, but I'm thinking you do because that is for the masses.
Yeah, exactly. You're playing to a large group of
Yeah.
people, not just
Yeah.
tracks only people. So, I feel like they're going to play a hit. Maybe Ants. Maybe
For sure. Yeah.
I don't know. I don't know what they're going to do.
Satellite crash. I mean, because everyone, regardless of whether the fact that they like the Dave Matthews Band, they know Satellite, they know Crash,
Right.
they know Ants Marching. Because what other song has a drum beat for like 15 minutes before they start singing? No one but the Dave Matthews Band. People know it. People know, and people know these guys because they've been around forever. So,
Right.
I actually, you know what, I say that, but I was talking to someone at work yesterday, and he had heard that I had a podcast or whatever, and I don't talk about it like at work. Why? I don't talk about it. I do, but I don't like bring it up. And he was like, honestly, I've never heard of the Dave Matthews Band, and I don't know how old he is. I know he's got to be a little bit younger than me, just based on like me, my guess.
Okay.
But it floored me for a second. I was like, oh my God, yes. There are so many people that don't even know about this band.
Nuggets.
If I had to guess, I'd say he's 30. Now, that's literally just about how old the band is. So I can see that. But like, I have always been aware of music that came before me.
Right. Yes.
So
absolutely.
I don't know. I mean, but also I think it has a lot to do with what your parents listened to too.
Yeah, I was absolutely raised on what my parents listened to. So
Yeah.
it's where I got my hippie nature from. So
Yeah, it's crazy how many people don't know about them, but I am excited. I know a lot of people are excited to be watching this, and again, just an honor to have our favorite band put in such a spotlight for the world, because this is a really, really, really big deal.
it's a big deal. I think it's about time. And I'm really, really glad that they listened the second time around.
God, I know, right? So I was listening.
Shut up again.
Yeah, yes. And I believe, I think, put this on record. Obviously, we are because I'm on a podcast, but I believe that Cleveland is going to be dominated by Dave Matthews Band fans.
Oh, I wanted to go so bad. I had a hotel room booked and everything, and I was like, "Oh, I just cannot get off from work. I just can't."
Work needs to understand this is your baby graduating.
I know. Well,
This
work
is
has
a family event.
I've saved my PTO all year for different days events. It's really all I use my PTO for, and so I'm still replenishing from the summertime.
I get it.
17 hours of PTO at this moment.
How far away are you from Cleveland?
Oh God. I mean, it's 2 states
It's far.
away. So, yeah, I would have to drive all the way through Pennsylvania. All of Pennsylvania's got to be like 8 hours to cross.
I'm just saying it's on a Saturday night.
It's true. It's probably about an 11 to 12 hour drive. So yeah,
It's only going to happen once.
Who's coming with me? Road trip.
Yeah, that's what I told my husband. I was like, listen, I know that I've told you 100 times. I've not been to 100 shows, but what seems like 1,000 times I've told you this is going to be the last one for this year. This is going to be the last one for this year. But literally when it came to this, I was like, dude, this will never happen again. never happen
It
again.
was this or Mexico again for me, and I was
Oh
like,
God, yeah. No, I get it. Mexico's special. So talk to us about Mexico because a lot of people may be listening to this and either A, they've never been, a lot of people haven't. It comes at a weird time when vacation is just replenishing from the new year. But like when did you first hear about Mexico? If someone's never heard of it before, talk us through like what exactly a Mexico scenario looks like.
um, where did I first saw that the whole Mexico thing on Facebook floating around years ago, and it always felt seemed to fall around my birthday.
Hmm.
So it was always like right around the beginning of February, and I was like, man, I'm like, look at Dave always playing for me a birthday party, and I don't go. Like this, I really need to make it one of these years.
Yeah.
And it's expensive. I have to say that that's probably the biggest thing is expensive. It's getting time off because you're gonna be down there for at least 4 nights. The minimum, absolute minimum, would be 4 nights.
Mhm.
So it's spendy, and so it's not. I mean, some people have the ability to do it all the time. That's great, good for them. This was something that I was like, if I could do it once, I would be ecstatic. And last year was my 50th birthday, and I had a good friend of mine, Marianne, who I had actually never met in real life, but like we were phone friends. And she was like, if I can help you pay for this and you can just pay me back later, would you go with me? And I was like, how do I say no to that?
Oh
So,
my God.
yeah, so she helped me get there, and we had a blast. It's beautiful. I mean, it's paradise. I love Mexico. It's just I love the beach. I'm a beach girl, so just having the ocean there and a stage on the sand and being barefoot and dancing to Dave and Tim and again it's like there's maybe 5,000 6,000 people, but it feels really small,
Yeah.
and it just feels very small and very intimate, and just the lights on the water and the breeze blowing and the smells, the tropical scents. It's just it's
It's
so
paradise.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's so great. It's so great. You spend the day in the pool talking to everybody, making friends, drinking, eating food, and then you go back to your room and you get dressed and gussied up and you go down to watch the show and on the beach, and it's just I mean, it really is just such a wonderful time. I was so grateful to be able to go. And then another friend of mine this year was like, "You have to go. I'm going to help you get there again." I was like, "Okay."
Okay.
What is happening? I don't understand, but I'm so grateful for this, and I'm so grateful to have
Absolutely.
people like these wonderful, generous Dave Matthews Band fans in my life that we help each other get there. I mean,
Mhm.
I've helped friends get I've given tickets away. I've helped friends get tickets when I've had the means to do so. I've had people give me tickets and get me to shows when they've had the means to do so, and you pay it forward, and that's
Absolutely.
that's just how we keep it going. We
Yeah.
take care of each other.
Yeah, it is true. It's true. So now what did you think about a lot of people are nervous about Mexico because I hear this a lot. Well, I love the full band. I don't know why I would pay more for less of the band. Have you heard people say that before?
And I actually was trying. I actually had myself convinced that too. That I was like, I'm not going to Mexico unless the whole band's playing. But if you've ever seen Dave and Tim by themselves, it's no, it's not the full band. It's a completely different experience, but it's still an amazing experience. I mean, those two guys really, you can really they really showcase their talent when it's just the two of them on the stage. Like you really see what amazing musicians they are when there's just the two of them feeding off each other and just you know, yeah, I mean it's a
No,
complete
that's perfect. I agree with, and that's how I tell people because when it's the full band, we can hear Dave's voice, but it is
right,
very hard to hear his guitar parts because
right,
it's, we got the trumpets and we got Buddy and there's just so much, but when you
yeah,
strip it all down and you can only
guitars,
hear Dave and Tim playing,
yeah,
We all know that Tim is a alien from space. Like that man is got
God on
fingers from.
guitar,
I mean, he's amazing. He's a rock star. He is everything. But Dave Matthews is also a rock star. He can play that. I mean, it's like an extension of his body. And like you said earlier, the way he moves his fingers, like, dude, are you like
nobody else
double
does that.
jointed in every finger? Like, how are you doing that?
Nobody else plays like that. Nobody else plays like that at all. Like it's his completely unique style.
It is
And I
crazy.
love to be able to see Tim and like shine and like get more than just a solo with the band's playing and he gets a
Yeah.
solo there, and like to be able to see him play. He played a version of In Your Eyes by Peter Gabriel last
Oh,
year
yeah.
by himself. Like Dave walked off stage and he played it, and like once the crowd realized what he was playing, all of a sudden you have 5,000-6,000 people singing along, and so everybody sang the whole song while he played this amazing acoustic version. And I was in tears because it's my wedding song. So I was like, oh my god, I can't believe he's playing this. And just the crowd was just the joy on everyone's face was just amazing as you hear all these voices singing it for them. And then like David walked back on stage and he was like wiped the tears away, like, wow, man, that was beautiful.
Don't you think it's cool that they continuously blow each other away? Like oftentimes you'll see Dave look over at whoever else is taking the lead and be like, wow, like they continuously impress each other. And I love that. Like they're not bored. They are far from bored. They are up there entertaining the hell out of us and themselves.
They're having fun together.
They are having fun.
Enjoying themselves. They're enjoying each other. I mean, I guess I'm not a musician myself. I can just imagine what it must be like to be with a group of people who like you just click with on that level.
Yeah, yeah.
Such amazing art, and have it be appreciated by all these fans as you can hear their response and see the people dancing and singing along. And I mean, I can only imagine what that must feel like for them.
I'm not a musician either. I can't sing. I can't play an
Me neither.
instrument. And I hate that. I hate it because I so badly want to just be like all of that. But, God gives us different talent. Hey, you remember one time, I think it was like Miss America or Miss USA, there was a girl, her talent was that she was a nurse. Do you remember that?
I do remember that. And they when somebody made fun of her and like something about her stethoscope, and then it became a big thing on The View about the stethoscope, and I was like, huh, all right. But I was like, yeah, that works.
Yeah, I mean, not everyone can do it, right, girl? Not everybody can do this. It is a hard job. It's a hard job.
Actually, CNA was the hardest job I ever had.
I 100% agree with that. I never was a CNA before I was a nurse. I was actually a phlebotomist before I was a nurse. So it worked out really well for like starting IVs later on, even though that's very different, but it helped. But CNAs, yeah, they do the hardest jobs in the hospitals, in the nursing homes, and anywhere. They are working their asses off for just a little bit of nothing. So
all the CNAs.
Yes, I love you guys, and we couldn't do it without you. But yeah, it's funny. Like that's my talent, I guess, is nursing, and I can say that now because whoever in a pageant said that, and so represent, right?
I want to be a hype person. Like I would love to be able to get paid to like walk in. Come on, everybody, it's the Dave Matthews Band, let's go!
Yes. See, if I heard you say that, I would just follow you. I wouldn't even know. I'd just be like, she sounds like she's off to have a good time.
How do I get that job?
I don't know. I mean, surely the Dave Matthews Band is hiring, right? Like people retire. You need a secretary. You need a girl to answer your phone. I can take messages. I can mop floors. I can clean out cars. I can clean your RV. What you need?
I tried looking up how do you become Dave Matthews tour band nurse? Like this.
Yes.
Like how do I get that job? Does that job exist? How do I apply for this job?
I mean, because we know that doctors can't start IVs. God, come on now. You need an IV, dude. After you sweated all that shit out on stage, you need an IV. Let me take care of you. And see, here's what I know about you and me. We wouldn't be weird about it. Like I would not be total fangirl. I would be professional, but also like very respectful because I love what you do. I love what you do. I'm going to take care of you because I'm going to need you to keep doing what you're doing.
The only way I would be professional, because I did meet Dave and I was a total spaz when I met him.
Oh no, tell us about it.
Total spaz. So some of my girlfriends, he did the book signings a couple years ago. He did one in Seattle and one in New York City. And New York City is only 2 hours from me, so that's where we headed. A bunch of people decided we were going to camp out on the street in Manhattan and we were getting into that book signing come hell or high water.
Yes.
We got there at like midnight, and it was about 20 degrees. We camped out all night long. Got our wristbands in the morning. We were like 55-ish in a line of 200 people that they let in. And we got our wristbands at 9 a.m. and the book signing was until 6 o'clock in the evening.
Ooh.
So now we're up all night long. We're up all
Oh
day
my
long.
God. Things we do for Dave.
We're a little giddy, we're
Yep.
a little punch drunk. And I'm like, okay, he's sitting at this table, and they have this line to the side of the table, and everybody goes up one by one, and they get to talk to him, and they get their book signed, and then they take your phone and they take pictures for you. And I'm like, I have to walk in front of Dave Matthews, and I'm a huge klutz, like the biggest klutz. I'm always like walking into things, breaking bones, like you name it. And I was like, please don't let me fall down in front of Dave Matthews.
Right.
I don't want to face plant in front of Dave. And I was so excited that I made it to the table that I just completely forgot the speech I had prepared in my head for the, however many years now I've always had the speech I was going to say when I met him, the piece I ever did. And I got there and I forgot what the speech was.
Yes.
I was just like, oh my God. And I was wearing like a little headband with sunshines on the top of them that were like kind of just blowing around. And he was like, I like your headband. And I said, I'm a ray of sunshine. And like, but his talent logo was waving as I'm saying that. And he just kind of looked at me like, okay. We do the pictures. I walk away. I forget to take my phone. They're like, do you want your phone? I'm like, oh, yeah, that would help. And then I was like, hey, Dave, keep shining your light while you got one, and gave Flash the peace sign. I was like, did I just quote Dave to Dave?
Yes, you did, girl.
I did. I'm such a dork.
I don't think so. I think you were just telling, I mean, I like to think things like, you know what, he heard you and he automatically thought, I'm glad that helped her. Wouldn't that be great if he thought things like that?
Yeah, he's off.
Yes.
I mean, he's fine. I just walked away like completely like red in the face, totally embarrassed of my own self. Like, what a dork.
Oh, no. And if you think you're the first or the last that ever did anything like that,
Yeah.
I'm sure it's happened thousands of times to him.
I need a Dave do-over. I need to
Yeah,
say
you do. Yeah, you do.
keep myself together this time.
Well, I hope it happens for you, and you're going to keep it together, and you're gonna remember it, and you're going to be like, I know exactly what I want to say, and you're going to say it.
Yep. I hope I get that chance again.
Yes, I believe it. I mean, here's the deal. In Mexico, I don't know where they stay. I know they're not staying where all of us common people are staying, but you never know. I mean, they gotta come out there to get on stage, so you just never know. Never know.
I've never been wanted to like stalk them.
Oh, no. Yeah.
Like, I'm just like, if it happens, it happens. And,
Yeah.
most of the time I'm at the shows and I'm having such a good time with everybody around me that I forget that I want to like, look for an opportunity maybe to like
Yeah.
itself, like, oh, maybe that's where they walk in. I should go hang out over there. But I usually, just having such a good time that I don't think of it.
Yeah. No, I get it. And that's what makes it so much fun when going to a Dave Matthews Band show is you're there for the music again, but you're having so much fun the whole day because you're around people that are like-minded. They're all there to see this band. And there's automatically a comfortability within that group of people because you're all there to see the same thing you're passionate about and you can just talk about it. And in my experience, I don't know for you, but in my life in general, there's not a lot of people I can talk to passionately about the Dave Matthews Band. So when I get into a group of people that that is when I'm going to talk about it and tell you facts and figures and do D&B trivia and do all kinds of weird stuff because you want to hear it, right? And I want to hear your story. And so it makes the day so much fun to have like all of those like family reunion type scenarios where you're going to see all your friends. But then the cherry on top is that you get to see the band at night. And then after it's over, there's more to talk about. Like, oh my God, I timed Seek Up and it was 16 minutes and 42 seconds.
Where are we going next? When's the next show? Yeah. That's where I'm going.
Yeah. Yep. I mean, that is how it is. And sometimes you end up at shows you didn't even know you were going to, just like your second one, right?
Like that show that I didn't count on going to just somehow just pops into my itinerary.
It's amazing what a minute can do, right? You just you find tickets, and tickets are never been something that's been super hard. So if you're listening to this and you're like, God, every tickets must be hard to get to these popular shows. They're not. They're never hard to get. So, and not meaning that it's empty. By no means is it empty, but there are always tickets available. They,
People buy extras. There's people who things come up, they
yeah,
can't go. You always
right.
check boards, always check Ticketmaster the day of. You'd be surprised all those people that hold the tickets on Ticketmaster and they sell them at really high prices.
Oh, yeah.
Drop them like the
And then
day of the
they,
show. They haven't sold them, so that always
yep,
happens.
that's when you get them. That's when you get them for
You just
sure.
got to know the tricks.
That's exactly right. So, if you could give someone some advice that may be listening to this and is really not necessarily involved in the groups, but they're curious about how to do that, are there some groups that you would say, hey, get on Facebook and check out this group or this group? Like, which groups have been really helpful for you? I mean, I know there are a lot and they're all very helpful, but like, are there ones that you go to?
Yeah, my two favorites are So Damn Lucky Crew and the Tailgate Caravan. Um,
Mm-hmm.
those people are living proof of like I feel like Dave's philosophy of kindness and giving back, and they both do charitable events, different ones from each other, but like their purpose is to like raise money for things and wonderful issues. And, Tailgate Caravan does NAMI, which is mental health, and then So Damn Lucky Crew does they pick different ones every year, and they are just wonderful, wonderful, kind-hearted, generous people, and I just love all of them, and I love being a part of their groups. That they do events, they do fundraisers, tailgate caravans that does tailgates in different shows, and they
Yeah.
all these big spreads, and and they all the raffles and all this stuff, and they just do wonderful work, and I really feel like they embody the spirit of what Dave Matthews Band means to me. So
Yes.
those are my groups, and that's where I would start. That's where I started. Those are the first two groups that I joined. So
Yeah, those are really, really solid groups. And Jamie Henry's a nurse too. So look at these nurses changing the world. Yes, girl. There's just something about nurses where we just, I mean, our whole job is to love on people and help people.
right,
That's what
right,
we
take
do.
care.
That's what we do for a profession. And so it doesn't stop at wherever you work. It really tends to be how you are as a human. And so,
I think so.
yeah, I'm like so excited that I mean, she has poured out so much time
Mm-hmm.
and passion into the projects that she does. And I know that the Tailgate Caravan, they always have such a big event in Camden in the parking lots, and all the money that they raise, again, yeah, it goes to NAMI, which is all about mental health. And so there's so many fans that are doing amazing things all because of a band. And so,
I agree.
I think the band knows. I mean, I'm aware that they know that their fans are one of a kind, but I don't think that enough people outside of the Dave Matthews Band universe know that. And
Right.
so, I just still think it's so important that we document these stories. So, and each story matters. And I was telling you before we started recording, and so I want to just mention this briefly for those of you that are listening. Like, what is it that I am doing with this podcast? Like, why? What am I doing? So, I'm glad that you've asked. Let me answer that question I just asked. So I have been collecting stories for almost 2 years now. It'll be 2 years in November. And so I'm going to continue to collect individuals' fan stories until the day, and I don't know when this is. Hopefully not sooner. Hopefully it's much later. But whenever the band retires in the capacity that they are now, I will take all of these stories and put them together to make a documentary that is a kind of a love story, if you will, from the fans to the band, just to kind of share the impact that they've made on thousands of people. So, thank you for being willing to share your stories so that I can just continue to document and show the future people, because this is all going to be available online forever. So that means even when we're all gone, when the band is gone, this information will still be out there. And I think it's important to document these happy times, again, because we live in such a world of hate. And I just think it's really important to document this love, because there's a lot of love going on. And speaking of love, you sent me your picture for your ad that we use to promote the show, and you have a sign that says love. Now, I've heard of that, but if you're listening to this and you're not familiar with the love sign, can you tell the listeners what that is all about?
The love sign is we get them from the Tailgate Caravan generally, but it comes from the Matt Wadlow Foundation. Matt was a fan who passed away years ago, and he would bring a sign to the shows that said love on it and flash them at the band, and that was his thing.
Yeah.
And after he died, I believe his sister started this foundation and kind of carried on that tradition of the love sign, and now they're available on their website to purchase, on their Facebook page to purchase. The Tailgate Caravan will sell them, so it's just a little reminder of that, and also to just remind everybody that that's what we're here for. We want to share the love with each other. We want to share the love with the band.
Yeah.
And keep that tradition going.
Yeah, yeah, because really that's what it's all about. The world needs more love, and we have found that within this group of the Dave Matthews Band, and we're also very thankful. So thank you, Tuffy, for sharing this, and just for being open to sharing it. Because I know that things are emotional when we talk about the Dave Matthews Band. So thank you for being vulnerable enough to do that. I know that a lot of people will be able to identify with your story, and so again, thank you, thank you, thank you.
Thank you. Thank you for doing this. I think this project of yours is amazing. So thank you for documenting all of this. And I don't want them to retire, but I can't wait to see the finished product someday.
Well, I don't want them to either. Believe me, I think that's like it's like an internal fear. I mean, like I know it's happening, but I don't want to think about it today.
Denial. I'm going to stay there.
That's right. So, again, if you're listening to this on a podcast app, well, here's the first thing I can ask of you. If you're listening to this, there is whatever app you're in, whether there's Apple Podcast, Spotify, whatever app, there's a section where you can actually write a review of this podcast. It would mean the world to me if you would write a positive review. And if you have a negative review, I'm open to that too, but just send me an email. That way I love constructive criticism. So definitely send that an email. But if you have something positive to say, be sure to leave a review in your podcast app. But if you're watching this on YouTube, do all the things that your teenager and that your young adult kids know to do, which is subscribe to the channel, like the channel. And if you like the episode, comment below. It's like all those things that you see on the videos on YouTube, like subscribe and like. I feel so weird saying that, but like it's a real deal. It's a whole thing. So guys, be sure to stay tuned on social media so you can see upcoming guests. You never know who's going to be the next on the show. It might be somebody that you know, but it could be you. And so if you want to know how to share your journey on the Space Between podcasts, just message me through any of the social medias. I would love to schedule you. But until then, guys, peace, love, and Dave Matthews Band.